everybody. Happy Sunday. Give me just a second here. I got to get my tablet going here. I think it's behaving itself. We'll see. Okay, I think it's working. All right. So how is everybody this evening? It's been kind of a cool, nice day. Oh, hi, Kathy. So, yeah, it's been kind of a cool, nice day. I don't know if it ever rained here or not. If it did, it was very, very little because everything looks pretty dry outside. So I've been working on. Oh, cool. You got your, is that Connie? You got your little felt flowers cut? Awesome. Yeah, we did that class about, well, it was a little over a year ago because we would have been doing those in July. I think I did the scan and cut class right before that. So you're getting rain now? Yeah, I don't know if it really ever rained here. If it did, it was not a lot. So who said 1/4 of an inch? Jan? Well, boy, it sure didn't rain much because I don't know that it rained here at all. I never heard it. It's very dry looking outside today. So cool though. It's nice not to have to have the air conditioner on. I always have to run an air conditioner. Ready for your corners? Oh, okay. Oh, ready for your corners for your July one? Awesome. It was at Jackie. I think it's Jackie. So I've been working on the October. I think I showed you September last week. And so I've been working on the October cutie and I got it done. So here's the October one with the little witches hats on it. And I don't know if you can see, whoops, let me turn it right side up here. So you can see the little hats with the little spider dangling and then a little hat band. So it turned out really cute. So that's October. I worked on that, finished that up today and got the binding on it. I did kind of wild backing because I had some backing. So it's a little on the wild side, but it's fine. And but yeah, so then that's the October one. I thought it turned out cute. So we'll be doing that one in September. So I got but I also learned I like Halloween too. But I learned a few things today about putting the flags on. So I tried something different. Hi, Lynn. Lynn's back from Alaska. Hope you had a good trip. But yeah, so this turned out really cute. I enjoyed doing this one. Like the little, I did purple hats, purple with polka dots and black hats for my witches hats. So anyway, that one was kind of fun to do. Got that one all finished up today. So let me set that over here. I've been working on my little houses, my little Christmas village. What is it called? Collectible Christmas. I've been working on that little Christmas village. So that's been kind of fun this week. And what else have I been doing? Oh, and then I got some stuff that we're going to do for for Shields Live on Thursday. So I finished up that little table topper. Let me grab that. It's actually kind of cute. Here's the September cutie. I think I showed it to you last week, but this is the September one with the little owls. If you didn't get to see it last week. So this one's September. So we'll do that one. And the August one is the little honeybees, the little bees with the little beehives. It's really cute. But this is what we're going to finish up on Thursday on Shields Live. I finished up my little table topper or my little wall hanging with the little Halloween squares and stuff. So I thought this one turned out really cute. And it's got kind of a weird back on it because I didn't have enough fabric, so I just used whatever I had. So it's pieced on the back, but it's cute. Still going to be really cute. So I think we're going to do, I decided to do borders with the Kimberbell Cuties or borders with the clear blue tiles. So I think we're gonna quilt some borders because I hadn't really shown anybody how to quilt borders with them. So that's what we're gonna do with this. We'll quilt the borders then. So that'll be on Shields Live on Thursday afternoon. All right. So today we're gonna finish. Oh, where are the designs? Who was asking me about that? Oh, Jan, they are on Kimberbell.com in the vault. And they're called, yes, did everybody get the little house from Kimberbell? The little freebie house? It's so cute. It's one of the little, I don't think I have the paper here. I cut it out already. The little house that's free. That's like the little collectible Christmas ones that I'm doing. So make sure you go get that on their website. But Jan, the designs, the little Halloween designs are on Kimberbell.com, and then you go to the to their vault, and it's in the vault. I think it's just called A Kimberbell Halloween Volume 1. So if you check your email, then you may find it. So, all right. So we're gonna work on our July Cutie here, and I'm gonna show you a trick that I learned today to put these stripes on, because when I did my first one, let me hold this up. When I did my first one of these, I just stitched out the placement lines that they told you to do, and then I just sewed these on with the sewing machine. And but I thought, well, heck, can't I just sew them on with the embroidery machine? And yeah, you can. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It makes it a lot faster. You still got to do a little bit of gluing on the rickrack, but just to glue the ends under. But it worked great with sewing it out with the sewing machine. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so let me get my banner turned off here, and then I'm going to switch my camera, and let's do our cutie. Find the camera. Okay, so we are going to work on the cutie. So I did go ahead and quilt this. Now, I ran out of my white Pima cotton thread, so I quilted this with embroidery thread instead of with cotton thread like I usually do. Oh, you couldn't, Cindy? They probably have it in Anamosa, so if you really like it, I can always order it. I can always go get a spool and send it to you. I have some. I had enough to get my second one done. I wasn't sure I was going to, but all right. Let me switch back over to my comments here so I can see everybody. Okay. Yeah, this rickrack is, what did they call it? Let me show you the spool. Okay, so the rickrack trim is this Ofre, and it's like glitter rickrack. And I really like it. It was red, and I got it at Walmart in Anamosa, but I don't know if I can give you a number on the metallic. It's metallic, and then it's got a number on it. Let's see here, 954636. So I got it at Walmart though, and it's I thought it was awfully pretty, and it just gives it a little shimmer instead of just plain rickrack. You can just use plain rickrack. I also thought about doing some like gathered ribbon, but I really hate gathering, so I decided, nah, we're going to stick with the rickrack. So the rickrack we can put on with the embroidery machine, which is really awesome. So I'm going to show you how I figured that out today. So we're going to, of course, do the quilting in the hoop, or I'm sorry, the embroidery in the hoop. I did quilt this with one of the Kimberbell, let's see, one of the Kimberbell embroidery designs, one of the patriotic. It was patriotic. It was either 2 or 3. I don't remember which one I used, but there's several patriotic ones that I have most of them. So it was patriotic. You can see it's got like little firecrackers on it and stuff. And then I did this one in embroidery thread because I ran out of my cotton thread for Pima cotton. So I ended up doing just regular embroidery thread on this one, but it's still very pretty. It does stand out maybe just a little bit more. I think I used a different one on the first one. This one was also a patriotic one, but it must have been a different one. It's a little bit different design. But you can see here, I don't know if you can see it too well, but the design doesn't stand out quite as much as it does on this one. I think it's because of the the embroidery thread's a little bit thicker. All right, so you can see it just a little bit more with the embroidery thread. Okay, and it looks really nice. And I didn't actually, when it's white and my background was on this one was really busy, I actually didn't use white embroidery thread in the bobbin. I just used bobbin thread because I didn't think it was going to really show anyway very much because this is so busy on the back. So I just used regular bobbin thread on this one. So, all right. But I normally use like the Pima cotton in the bobbin and in the needle. So, oh, it's a good birthday. It's about that time, huh? All right. So what we're going to do now, there was a couple of, we talked about some stuff last week. This one turned out actually a little bigger than what it called for. So when I went to go do the embroidery, you know how we've been cutting off that 1/4 of an inch off of the, off the template. I've been making my template. And that little placement line's down on the corner down here. Well, yeah, I kind of like the backing on this one. The other one was pretty too. Did you see the other one? I had a couple of yards. This one was a little bit more kind of off-white and a little bit more like 4th of July. And but this one was kind of almost looked like a bandana. But this was the same series. I had a whole bunch of these. What were they? Mila. I got them at Walmart, but they were like Mila. And what's the name of it? Mila. It's the one maker that they have there sometimes, and they had a bunch of really cute patriotic fabrics. So I got a whole bunch of different ones. Okay. So when I went to do the embroidery on this, I cut out, I printed off my template, and I went to cut it off, and cut it off the 1/4 of an inch, from the placement line, which you can kind of see is on the edge of my paper. But then I realized it was, the lines were going to come down into my border, and I didn't think I really liked that. So actually this one, I did not cut it off the 1/4 of an inch. This one's different. I don't know. I have a feeling the difference is that this part is bigger. And, oh, yes, I am giving away a prize. Should we look at that first? We can look at that first. So remember, yes, so we're going to give away a prize tonight as usual. Okay, so if you make a comment, you get entered to win. And this week's prize is another one of these. I love these little bags, these little zipper bags. This was made out of a Panera chip bag. I used to eat at Panera like every day because our store was in a mall where there was a Panera. And I made these little bags out of the chip bags from Panera. Okay, so it's a little chip bag. And this is made in Design Center, but it's made with the actual bag. And then you put that vinyl fuse on it. So this is the prize with the little chip bag. And then I still have a couple more of the little needle cases that say Sew Along with Jan. So I have a Sew Along with Jan needle case and the little chip bag to give away tonight. Okay, so to enter to win, make sure you make comments, and then you get to win the prize. Okay, at the end. All right, so put that aside. So that's what the prize is tonight. Yeah, aren't those cute bags? I love making these. I made most of them out of these little chip bags and made small bags because these are really handy for things like USB sticks. And, I've always got stuff in my bag, and I like to put like some of that little stuff in these little bags and zip them shut. So I have a whole bunch of these and I made them mostly out of chip bags because I ate chips so often. So, all right, so that'll be the prize. All right, so our little template, then I printed it off, but I said, do not cut off the 1/4 inch because the stripes then would come down onto my border. And I have a feeling it had something to do with, my side, the whole size on this one was a little weird. Yeah, I should do that again to do the chip bags. Would you guys like me to do this again? I haven't done it for a long time. Would you like me to show everybody how to do these? I did these in Design Center. And we haven't done them for a really long time. And then I didn't sew the chip bags in the embroidery machine. I just sewed them together with the sewing machine. So yeah, maybe we could do that. Would you like that? Okay. Yeah, we'll make these. again, because I made them in a live class that I did at the store actually quite a few years ago. And we called it Dream Club. It was with the Dream Machines. So yeah, these are really fun. And then we just quilted them and put some batting on and quilted them. So I've got all my notes. So we'll make them. Well, these are really fun. And they're fun to make like with candy bags and that kind of stuff too. Yes, candy, like Easter candy bags. And, you know, the candy bags that are from like the holidays are always really pretty, you know, but I did a lot of mine out of these little chip bags. So you can save them and then you can use vinyl fuse on them. So, okay, yeah, we'll do that. I'll come up with something. We'll do that over the summer. Yeah. Oh, the little Doritos bag. Yes. Yes, I did the Doritos bag. Yep. I did the Doritos and then I had this one. And then I think I've got maybe one or two more yet to give away. So I can't remember what those were made out. I made a whole bunch of them though. All right, so our little template is all printed out. Oh, and I forgot to show you my stuff. Here's my print and stick, Target paper. And then Floriani has the template tearaway, which is the same stuff. And what's nice about this is you can print on it and then it's tacky so that it sticks down and then you can reuse it. And I just stuck my snowman in the center here, okay? So I'm going to bring my design up real quick on my machine. I was sewing on it a little bit ago, so I need to go get it back up here again. And this one's just called Flag. Oops, there we go. All right, so I got it up here. And so if you look at the orientation here, it's going to need to go into the hoop like we want it to look like the picture. So we're going to go on like this. Okay. So it's going to go in the hoop like this and this little edge. And again, I did not cut off a 1/4 of an inch above that placement line. I just cut it right on the placement line because it was just going to be weird. It wasn't going to lay right. So this one was different. This whole table topper was just different. So far, none of the other ones have been like that. I think it's because this one was just an odd size. Okay, so I've had a little more trouble with this one size-wise. So this one was odd size. So we're going to go ahead and put this in our corner here. Get it lined up where we want it. And remember, I had trouble with this the other night when I was trying to get it in here. There we go. All right, so then our little flag then will go like this, okay? Yeah, it has to be something to do with the sizing. The whole thing was just a little different size and something just wasn't quite right. So it works fine this way. I just didn't cut it off. And so far, this has been the only one that I've not cut off. Now, they also, just so you know, for those, and I know I have a few people from Canada, they also have the Canadian leaf, the maple leaf. So you can also do this for the Canadian, the Canadian patriotic table topper, and they have the maple leaf too, just so you know. So that one's in right here also. So Canada Day is July 1st, I think it says. So that one, so I know I do have a few people from Canada, so you can also work with that. Okay, so I got this in here, and I'm going to use, now this technically will fit, just so you know, in a 5x7 frame, but it's very, very close. So I'm going to go ahead and use a 6x10. I put my 6x10 snap hoop in there. Here's the bottom of it, just to give me some wiggle room to get this in here. Okay. So we're going to kind of get this set up here, and we're going to start our embroidery. I'm going to get that close to the center, and then I'm going to get my hoop in here. So I like to try to put, the snowman like right under the foot if I can, or fairly close anyway. Now, like I said, this hoop is going to give me a little more wiggle room. The 5x7 actually does work. I did a couple of them in the 5x7, but I got tired of having to have it almost exactly in the center, so it was really close. So this is easier when you're using the snowman. It gives it a little wiggle room to work. All right. So I'm going to get that in there. Make sure your edges are all even. So I think that looks good. Okay. So we're going to go over here. Whoops, here. Second, I lost my scissors. All right. we're going to go over here, and again, we got our design up. It looks like it's oriented correctly, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go hit layout. I hit the embroidery button already. I'm going to hit my little snowman, and we're going to line it up here with our snowman. Center. Oops, second, I can't quite see it. There we go. Center, and then hit scan. If you do not have the snowman, a lot of you will, because that's been in the machines for quite a long time. You can use your plastic grid on your template, and you can line it up, and you can just work just fine. I love my snowman though. Are people using their snowman more after seeing it used a few times? It's not hard. A lot of people are scared of them. It's very simple. All I did was hit the button, and it says remove the embroidery positioning mark. We're all set up. All right. So here is our design. Now this is a fun, easy design. It's real easy. It only has a couple little pieces to it. But what I did today is I figured out a way we could sew those strips on of rickrack so we didn't have to sew them on with the sewing machine. You've never used your snowman before? Oh my gosh, they're so cool. It's like the coolest invention ever. That came out, it's been a long time ago. So all you need to do this design is the star is an applique, okay? So I needed 4 3-inch by 3-inch squares to do my little star. And you need some rickrack. And I kind of figured out how long the rickrack needs to be. 2 of the strips are about 5 inches. That'll give us a little bit on the ends to turn back. Okay. And then one of them was 4 inches, and then it gives us a little room to turn it back. Okay. So when we turn the ends back, and I've got my hot glue gun turned on because we're going to glue the backs back like that. Oh, you did? Yeah, the snowman is pretty cool. That was the first machine that had it. Was the Quattro. And boy, was that ever the coolest thing. And I use my snowman all the time. Okay. So I've got my rickrack cut, my 3 pieces of rickrack, and there'll be 3 pieces for each corner. Okay. And then your piece of applique fabric. So what I did is I think it starts with let me look and see. I think it starts with the star. I'm gonna fast forward, through that placement line, because we don't need that placement line because we already have it placed. Yep, starts with a star. So I have my blue. I chose 2 colors of thread. I have the 405 blue in the brother thread, and then the 800 red. And I also have it in the bobbin. So I have my needle and bobbin thread the same color. So it'll show on the back. And let's see. So I think we're ready. So we're going to start the placement line first for the star here. So we're going to do our star placement line, and then we're going to put our fabric down. Sure I didn't drop anything. I'm always dropping my scissors. All right, so then we're going to put our fabric on, and my fabric matches my borders, my narrow borders. Okay, and then we're going to place the fabric and sew the fabric down. This was a fun one. After I figured out this afternoon, I said, I am going to figure out how to sew these on so I don't have to sew them on with the sewing machine. Because I did the other ones and I thought, oh, there has to be a way to do it. So I just played around this afternoon and figured it out. Okay. So we're going to trim close to the stitches. This is always fun to do, the embroidery. It really brings them to life, doesn't it? And I wasn't sure if I liked my fabric for my Halloween one. Did you like the fabric? Because you know what really made it for that one was putting the binding on, because my eye didn't stop. you know, at the edge. It just kind of, my eye kept going. And as soon as I put the binding on, it's like, oh, well, I like it now. So, you know, binding makes a huge difference on quilts and stuff. All right, so then we've got our fabric trimmed. I'm going to put this back in, and we're going to stitch the satin stitch for the star. Yeah, this one, I really like this one. The, I have to say it was a little bit, you know, the size of it was a little bit off. So I had a little bit, you like the Halloween fabric? Yeah, when I first looked at it, I wasn't sure, but, and then as soon as I put that black binding on the edge, all of a sudden my eye just stopped and it was so much better. Makes a big difference. Now, the one thing about Kimberbell is they usually do have really good satin stitch like underlay, so that if you aren't real careful about your trimming, sometimes I'm not real careful, it covers the edges really nicely. So there's not a lot of embroidery on these corners. Thank you. You liked my fabric? Yeah, it was all just fabric I had. I've been really trying not to buy any fabric for these. I just bought like a couple of, I've had to buy a few backings here and there just because I didn't have enough to do two. Now these I had, so I had a yard of this with pinwheels, and I had a yard of the other with the looks like bandana fabric. So I had that, and I had enough of the blue for. I had the rest of it enough for both of them. But it's nice when I can use up some of my other fabric that I already have. So, but yeah, the Halloween stuff's been kind of fun. I don't make a lot of Halloween stuff, and if I don't do it in the summer, I don't get it done. So I try to work on it in the summer. It's kind of a wonky store. It's a little bit bigger on one side than the other. But I was kind of tickled to figure out a way to sew these little strips on, so I didn't have to do it on the sewing machine. I did do the other ones, but this way the lines line up real nice on the back, so you didn't have to worry about, you know, having extra lines on the back. So I'll show you how I did it. I kind of like this one. I'll put the binding on later tonight. My goal was this weekend to get October's done, and then I'm ready for November and December, because I already have January's done. I just haven't we won't do that one until December. So I only have to make 2 more. I've made 10 of these. Well, actually I've made 20. I will have made 20 when I get all, or 24 of them when I get all done, won't I? Oh, you still have your Quattro? Yeah, see the Quattro has a lot of, that was the first big machine, and it had a lot of features on it, and it was like the first machine that brother had that was over a certain price point, and I about had people fall off their chairs when they found out, but it was so popular once everybody saw what it did, and then the Dream Machine, you know, expounded on it even more. So I love the Dream Machine. I kind of miss mine, actually. Oh. Oh, you learned that it's okay to go to Walmart or Joann's. Yeah. You know, the thing is with these, Connie, these designs were before they had a fabric line. So none of these designs are done with any Kimberbell fabric. So I actually am trying not to put Kimberbell fabric in these. I do like matchy fabrics, but yeah, I've been real pleased with these, and I've just been using what I had. So none of these were done with, I try to not put Kimberbell fabric in unless I have to. So I went from the Elegante to the Luminaire. Yeah, but the Elegante was an older machine, so that one didn't have near as many things, but the Luminaire is an awesome machine. Okay, so now we're going to do the little placement lines for the stripes, and I'm going to go ahead and put my red thread in my bobbin now. I've got red embroidery thread in my bobbin here, and then we're going to put it in the needle too. because there's not a whole lot to this. This one only had about 1,800 stitches in it. So it's not, it isn't a very, the embroidery design is not real intense. So this one was really fun. I figured you could get it though if I just did it once. you'd get it, and we'd have a short class tonight. So it's pretty easy, but this is the way I played around with it this afternoon, and so we could figure out a way to do this all on the embroidery machine. Okay, so then the next step is just going to be the little placement lines for our rickrack. Whoops, just a second here. I forgot my bobbin door. Take this out again. I forgot to put the bobbin door on. Sometimes it sews okay, and sometimes it gets mad. There's something about this bobbin door I forget to put on. I don't know what it is, if it's the shape of it or if I set it aside a lot. I don't know. I'm going to back up so I can start from the beginning here. Just a second. Okay. There we go. So now it won't get mad at me. Sometimes the machine will sew fine without the bobbin door, but it does sometimes get mad. Okay, so we're going to get our first one. Make sure I got my glue gun on. We're going to need the glue gun next. Yeah, this has been a real fun one. I really enjoyed doing these cuties. Is everybody enjoying them? They've been so much fun, and it's just fun to get to, sew a little bit and embroider, so we have a sewing class every month and get to do some embroidery too. So, all right. All right, so there's the 3 placement lines. So that finished the design, as you can see. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to back up to those designs, those placement lines. Okay, and that's what we're going to sew this down with. Yeah, they're not embroidered. They were rickrack, or they said rickrack, or like gathered ribbon, and I don't like to gather. Do you have the new July to December ones? Yes, I do. So the new, yes, they're up on the website now. I just put them up. So the new Kimberbell Cuties, the new book, that's for the last half of the year, came in just a few days ago, and I have it up on the website. So shieldsewingcenter.com, and the new ones. And I think, and if you still want to, we'll do those this next year. We'll do the new ones, but we're going to kind of do them different, I think, because I like to be able to quilt through all the layers. So we may do them differently. So, okay. All right. So there's our placement lines for our rickrack. So let's work with the rickrack now. So I cut my rickrack pieces here. I cut 2 that were 5 inches and 1 that was 4 inches to give me a little room to turn back the edge. So, and what I did to turn back the edge is I just grabbed my glue gun here. Just a second, I got glue all over the foot of it. I'm going to set it on my sewing machine. Okay. And then what I did is, and I think these, I kind of tried to make the end kind of point down as I'm going. So let's see here. Okay. So this one I've already turned back. So I'm going to turn back a little end. And this is one of the longer ones that goes on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that on the end here. Sorry, I've got glue on my fingers. Can't get it off. There we go. I'm going to put that down here, and I'm going to figure out where I need to turn this one back. There's that one, and then it needs to turn back about right there. And so you kind of have to play with your rickrack to get it, the right. You don't want to turn it back and have it not match the bumps, so you want to make sure you get it right. And that's still not quite back far enough. So I need to see if I can get this turned back a little bit more. But you want your bumps to match so it doesn't look funny on the ends. Okay. Like that. So then what I did is I take my glue gun, and this one I'm going to grab my scissors here, and I'm I'm going to actually cut this off a little bit because it's kind of a long end, and I'm just going to cut that off a little bit on the back. And then I'm going to take my glue gun and I'm just going to put a little glue on here and glue this down. And don't get too heavy with it because you have to sew through this, remember, okay? And you could use like fabric glue if you want to, but then you got to wait for it to dry. So I'm kind of impatient and I don't like to wait for things to dry. All right, so there's one. Okay, and it's still a little long. I may have to fix it. It's still a little long. Maybe I didn't catch the right bump. Let's see here. Might have to cut it off and do this bump. Yeah, then it's a little too short. So we'll have to have it be a little bit too long. Sometimes I have a little trouble getting it the right length, so I just kind of have to play around with it a little bit. Might have to make it a little bit shorter. That's a little bit better. I may have to cut this end off a little bit. All right, we'll re-glue this end so we can make it a little shorter. And this stuff was a little bit on the ravelly side. So I did do some, and the hot glue helped with that also to keep it from raveling out because it held it down. So this one I am going to have to cut off the end here a little bit to make it the right length. Okay, so then we got this one. That looks pretty good. All right, so there's that one. So then we're going to try this one. Let's see, make sure I get the longer one here. This is the short one. Put that up there so we don't try to put it on the long one. And then, let's see, I think I've already turned back one end of this one. So this one here could go about here. So let's see how the length looks. Just make sure when you're turning it up that it looks about right on the ends. And this one I think I might have to do a little bit of making it work too because it was a little too long. Let's see here. Because it's hard to tell how long things actually need to be until you actually get the lines sewn out. So it's just better to sew out the lines and then finish your lengths. There we go. That looks pretty good. All right, so I'm going to put some glue down here. Just be kind of, gentle with the glue. Don't get too much. And then this one, see, I have to cut it off a little bit. So I'm going to cut this off. I might put a little bit more glue under there just to get that raw edge off of there. Let's see if I've got it down. I think it should be okay. Like that. All right. And then we're going to put this one on there. And let's do this last one. Let's see here. This one's already glued here. So I'm just gluing the ends down with the hot glue just to get it turn under so that it stays put for me. So then this is the shorter one. And this one could go about right here, I think. So let's see. That one works okay. Yeah, that looks pretty good. But this stuff was really, really ravelly, so that's why I'm using hot glue because it kept it from like coming apart because it's kind of a metallic stuff. And oh, hi, Clara. Is that you? No, it's Lisa. Hi, Lisa. All right, so I got that folded back, and then we're going to put a little bit of hot glue in here. But again, just be careful. Don't get too rambunctious with the glue because you are going to sew through it. It'll be okay. But you don't want it to be too heavy. All right. Like that. So I just turned back both sides. So both sides are turned back underneath. And then I'm going to pull this out a little bit so you can see better. And I'm going to get my fabric glue stick. I love these my little sew line fabric glue stick. Pull this out. And then we are going to glue these down. So I'm just going to glue them down with my glue stick. Try to keep the glue stick pretty narrow, because there's not, you know, the rickrack is kind of narrow in some spots. And then we're going to glue this down. Pull the can back just a little bit. Glue this down on that line. And you want to make sure that it's kind of in the middle. You know, where the center of the rickrack is. I think I need to go this way just a little bit. So try to keep it right on the center of your rickrack, right on that line. And just press it down. Like that. And then we'll do that with another one. Yeah, I love these little glue sticks. These are nice because they're narrow. I use the Dritz glue sticks too, but these are narrow. So when I'm doing like little narrow stuff like this, I like these better, because then I don't get it all over. So I'm just going to put the glue stick down the middle here of my line. And let's find the other big one here. Whoops. Okay. And we're going to go on that line again. Try to keep the middle of your rickrack right on that line, because it's going to sew down through the middle of it. I'm going to go forward just a little bit. There we go. So keep it in the middle of the rickrack. Like that. Okay, and then we'll do the short one. And we're going to go across here. But yeah, I thought there's got to be a way to do this, that we can just sew this on with the sewing machine, because I don't like to sew little embellishments on. I was lazy. I thought, oh, we could do this in the embroidery machine somehow. So I just played with it this afternoon. Get that little piece of, there we go. All right, I'm going to stick this down. Again, keep the center of your rickrack right on that line, so that it'll catch it with the thread. I did pretty well on the other ones, so hopefully this one will turn out good too. Okay. All right, so we're got it glued down. Press it down real well. Regular rickrack's a little easier to work with than this glittery stuff. This was a little harder to work with. It's kind of it frays really well, or really easily. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some paper tape. And we're going to tape the ends down so that they won't move, or my foot won't get caught on anything. I'm going to use this one over here since it's kind of short. Okay, so I'm not going to go over too far, because I don't want to have to pull too much of that out, but we're going to have a few stitches in those, but that's okay. I'm going to tape that down with my Kimberbell paper tape. Tape this end down. Okay, and then we'll get the other end with one piece of tape. So all three of these with this. And push it down real well so it doesn't get caught on your foot. All right, make sure that your rickrack's pressed down well. Okay, so now we got it all ready. So I backed up on my design back to those 3 placement lines. All right, so I'm backed up in my design to those same 3 lines that we just sewed. Still got my red thread in there. Okay, and now I'm going to sew on my rickrack. So with any luck at all, it's going to go right down the middle. We hope. And if you're careful when you put it on, it's going to go right down the middle. And this thread matched my rickrack really well, so you can hardly see it. And then you don't have a bunch of extra lines on the back of your table topper, because it's on top of the same lines. That sure was a lot easier than sewing it on with the sewing machine, because there was a lot of them. You know, there's what, 12 of them. So I thought, oh, I can sew these on with the embroidery machine. Doesn't tell you that in the instructions, but I thought, oh, heck, there's got to be a way we can do this. There we go. So what'd you think of my little trick? All right, so let's take this off. And I'm just going to take my finger and I'm going to hold those stitches so that I don't pull my stitches. Put your nail against the stitches so they won't pull out. Like that. Do the same thing here. And our rickrack is sewn on. I hadn't even taken it out of the hoop yet. I think that I looked at it and I thought there has to be a way to do this. Just glue it down and, you know, put it on right on the middle of the line and glue it down. That's what I did when I sewed it on with the sewing machine. So why couldn't I do it with the embroidery machine? So the lines are already there, right? There we go. So we can get this end. And then you would do the other 3 corners the same way. And it doesn't take very long. It takes about, you know, 5 minutes or so to sew out the pattern. And then it might take you longer. It took me longer to put the rickrack on. But, you know, I mean, you still got to do that even if you're sewing it on. There we go. And take my finger along my stitches so I don't rip any stitches out. I don't know. I thought it was a cool little idea, and it worked out really well. All right, so there is our flag. What do you think? Isn't that neat? And we got it all sewed on, and we didn't have to sew it on with the sewing machine. Okay, so here's all my ends. Let me turn this so you can see it. Like that. And then if you can't find the glittery rickrack, though, you could always just use regular rickrack. I just thought the rickrack was nice because then I didn't have to, you know, I didn't have to gather the ribbon. They were talking about gathered ribbon. So I think here's a picture here. They showed the gathered ribbon. I think that's really pretty and everything, but I just don't like the gathered ribbon very well. The other thing that would be really pretty on here would be to put ruching. So you could just put it straight, and you could do like we did on the June one, you know, on the watermelons. You could just put ruching on, and then that you could probably have just glued on, and then it would look kind of like this. But I thought the rickrack was kind of pretty. So, and then the lines just turned out great, and everything's straight. And then, like when I look at it on the back now, can you see? Then the lines are right on top of each other nicely. And when I sewed it on, I did pretty well. You know, they weren't real bad, but some of them weren't exact. So, you know, you can see that I got a little, like this one, I got a little off on that. Whoops. I made the camera mad. Let's pull it back. There we go. And like that. Okay. So some of them were just a little bit off. And I really liked that they were then exactly. And I liked the glitter on there. I thought it was kind of pretty. All right. So what do you think? So now I'm going to, I'll trim this and I'll put my binding on. My binding is this color here. And I was very happy with that after I got done. I was like, yay, I got my flag stripes on, and it was much less, it didn't take me near as long to do it this way. So, all right. You could also use chenille. Yep. Any kind of just something to put on there. Something that looks kind of curly like this is neat. So I like rickrack. I've always liked rickrack. So I thought, well, we're just going to use rickrack, especially when I found this glittery rickrack. I just thought it was so cool. So that is what I did with these. So that is the embroidery on the July Cutie. Remember, I also have a binding video, and I will link it in the YouTube video and also on the group so that you, if you need to help with the binding again, I have a binding video for these. I use one of the Kimberbell patriotic designs. I can't remember which one it was. It was either Patriotic 2 or 3. I can't remember which one I used this time. So, but anyway, so there we go. There's our flag. and our July table topper. I'm anxious to get this one done. So then I'll have, I'm done through October. So I feel like very accomplished today. So I'm going to work on November's and December's pretty soon. All right. So is everybody ready for a drawing? We're going to have a short class tonight. I knew this wouldn't take as long, but I wanted to practice a few times before tonight so I could really do this correctly. So that's why I did 3 of the 4 corners instead of only 2. Just it made me feel better that I had practiced to do that little trick I found out. So, but I knew that I think everybody can handle it. It's an easy design, and then just leave it in the hoop, get your little rickracs on there, and you could even sew ribbon on that way too. You know, most of the time you could do ribbon too if you wanted to. So, all right. So I think we're ready for a drawing. Let me change my camera here. Maybe. And my microphone. You can hear me a little better. Okay. All right. Yeah, I know this one's really fun. I have to say it was a little different though, because the size was a little different. And so I had a little more problems with things lining up. But once I got it figured out, everything lined up nicely. No, Pat, I sent some of the new Kimberbell books. It's the Kimberbell Cuties Volume 2, July through December. No, I did send some down to Davenport. So there should be at least a couple or maybe 3 down there. And if you can't find, if there's not one there, let me know and I'll send one down. But I think there should be a couple, should be at least a couple, 3 down there. So, because I sent some down. We usually get like 6 or 8 of them in. All right, so let's see what we can do for a giveaway tonight. All right, you ready for a giveaway? I have to see if I can get my tablet to move here. We're going to give away our little chip bag. The little chip bag. It's a Panera chip bag. And then here is the sew along with Jan, one of the sew along with Jan, the little needle cases. All right. The second here, I've got my volume up a little bit. There we go. All right. So I'm just going to see who wins tonight. We've been doing pretty well that, like different people have been winning every week. It's kind of fun when you get different people every week. Now, if you don't live close by and you can't pick it up, the prize up at the store, go ahead and personal message me your mailing address and I will mail it to you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put my finger down and see who won. Looks like Jan Stegen. Jan, I think you won one other time, didn't you? Jan Stegen. I put my finger on Jan Stegen's name. So Jan, you won. You got a needle case and the little chip bag. And you want to come down and pick it up someday? Jan lives fairly close, so maybe she can come pick it up. And somebody just ordered their second here. Oh, Maureen, you said you ordered your book. Cool. So Jan Stegen is the winner. Jan has won before, really early on though, like way back in January, maybe. One of the first ones that won. I think Lynn was the first one. Okay, you'll come down and pick it up. All right, I'll put your name on it, okay? And I'll put it in the drawer for you. I just put the little needle case inside, so. Yeah, so we'll do these. How about we do these in maybe July? We might do these in July. I have to come up with some bags because it takes me a little bit to come up with, some bags to do them. So it might have to be July or August so I can get some stuff. I don't eat a lot of chips and stuff, so I have to get them from other people. I have people saving chip bags and stuff for me. So, all right. So I wanted to tell you, so next week is Father's Day. And it's my first Father's Day without my dad. And I would like to go and honor my father for next week. So we're not going to have class next week. And we will have class then the last week in June, the last Sunday in June. And we're going to have a scan and cut class. So I think we're going to make a card. I've been wanting to make a card so bad. And I found the cutest card on the scan and cut website. And it's a birthday card. So everybody needs birthday cards, right? So this will be really fun. So thanks everybody for understanding. I just felt like I needed to have that day to remember my dad. So, but next, so the following week, what is it? The 20, let me get the date here. I can't remember the date. We're on the 24th, right? Something like that. So we won't have class next week. Next week is the 18th, and then it's the 25th. I'm sorry, 25th. So on the 25th, we'll have a scan and cut class. And I've got it figured out what I'm going to do. I just don't have it posted. So I'll post it. I'll post it probably in the next couple of days. I'm going to work on it tomorrow. And then I've been wanting to make a card. And I know you know that I'm working on learning to make cards. So I thought, well, we're going to make a card with the scan and cut, but then I'll show you a couple of other things maybe that are not with the scan and cut to make the cards. And it's a cutest little design. It's a free one on Canvas Workspace. So I found it today and I thought, oh, that's really cute. And it has all these really fun little pieces to cut out and everything. So we're going to talk about some blades, and we're going to, you can cut out the little letters, and we're going to do some stuff with the letters and stuff. So I think it'll be really fun. I have done embroidered cards. Who was asking about the embroidered cards? I have. And actually, Lynn and I have been talking about doing a class with the embroidered cards, but I think maybe Lynn might do it. So it might be something you can take at the store. We haven't talked about it for a while, but I would like to do it. The embroidered cards are fun. So yes, I have, but I'd like to actually, and I've also taught a software class that we made in embroidered cards. Maybe we'll do another card, and we'll make our own card design and do it for, because I think we did a Valentine card. Wasn't that what we did, Lynn? Maybe it was a Valentine card. So I love to bring in some crafting with these other things we do, but I love the scan and cut. So we're just going to make a card next week or 2 weeks. So it'll be on the 25th. We decided it was the 25th. So next week we'll be off. And then on the 25th, we'll make a card on our scan and cuts. So, all right. So thank you very much for joining me tonight. If you have any questions, let me know. And Jan, I'll put your little bag in the drawer at the store for you to come pick it up. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.